Sup lads, here we go, round 4, World Realistic Series. You know the deal, we're racing at yet another track. Same 20 drivers, only 16 of them could make it to today's race, are contesting for the most prized championship lead. Hanoiiii is not the easiest of circuits that you can have on the current F1 calendar, but that adds its own element of beauty to the calendar that we own in the World Realistic Series. After Russia, Monaco and many other tracks, we now enter Vietnam. With the new track, which has never been ridden before by Formula 1 cars, disappoint. 23 corners project drivers from the start-finish line round and back to it once again. McLaren currently leads the Constructors' Championship with a 33-point gap, which is further extended to 66 to third place Mercedes. In second sits AlphaTauri. Fourth we've got Racing Points. Fifth Ferrari. Still high for the Ferrari cars, which have not been buffed in the game, or nerfed, should I say. 5 place grid penalty already given to a collision that took place on the track between Renault and the Racing Point, it seems. Racing Point's becoming Aston Martin's next season. That will bring its own livery to the car, but of course the livery doesn't speak for what's under the lid of the driver. The driver is the one that controls the machine, but the factory is the one that creates it. Formula 1 is known for being such a team game. Here is Renault in the Mercedes for the first time in the World Realistic Series around Hanoi. He enters turn 1, a similar corner but reversed to what we see in China. This wet conditions is really not helping the driver around here. Practice makes perfect, and I know that this driver, the driver which has been fighting for wins last season, will definitely be able to make it around this track. A slight mistake costs him a bit of time, but he is still, or seems like the lap that will be the first one set today. After the long straight, he enters turn 6 and 7. Really tough in wet conditions, as we see the AlphaTauri going spinning all around the track. The yellow flag is not helping Manel here. He is clearly struggling, I must tell you that. But he now enters the second, or third I must say, long straight, which is curved as we've just seen, into turn 10. Engine power will mean a lot here, especially as we're running on realistic power. Turn 11, the hairpin, really tough corner, something that not every driver can fight it across. Shortly followed by turn 12, 30 degrees to the left, turns 13, a 90-degree turn, and the chicanes, which so beautifully represent what we see at Monza, not Monza, sorry, Suzuka. But there is the Mercedes slightly budging into the wall. Will that cost him anything? The Racing Point says the first lap of the day, as the Mercedes is now struggling through the set of chicanes. 157.1 is already beaten, as a 152.0 is ridden by Lionel, and that is beaten further by Manel. 150.2 is the current time to beat, as all our drivers are now fighting across the track. Kingiski has finally, after so long, made his comeback into the league by setting a pole position last race. The race didn't go to his wishes, but a pole position was always something to be happy about. Can he replicate that today? As we say, every single race and every single qualifying session. This driver, which is now the driver in Mercedes, last season he rode around several teams including racing with Mercedes. He has not had the strength of qualifying on his side. He needs to up his game in qualifying. Leaving the pits earlier and fighting over a few laps is something that he needs to master, because currently he only really tries to go for one lap. With 12 minutes to go, he's got plenty of time though. An easy way around the corner. He's spinning just slightly as he enters the sector, which is given a yellow flag. Hanoiiii is one of the tracks where you have to really manage your tyres well. The long straights let you cool your tyres down, but that's only if you've got the clean air. And to get the clean air, you need to get a good pole position. 5th place is far from it though. Pole positions are of course what everyone is aiming for, but it's not what you might see here today, as we saw a Ferrari spinning around here, doing what the Ferraris do best. It's been a lot. But does this qualifying session translate to what the drivers will face further in the race? We now have 2 new members of the current podium for the qualifying session. That is the AlphaTauri beating the Mercedes. Something extraordinary yet believable. Mercedes is of course on a very dominant season this year in the real racing, but this is league racing. Anything can happen. We've seen it in esports and we see it here. The drivers which didn't make the esports draft are also in this league. Many of them attempted to make it into esports. They used the experience they gained from that attempt to fight it in this league. Here is Minnow coming out for what seems as to be his 2nd run of the day. He will be trying to be the 149.6 of the AlphaTauri. Must say, I really love the combination to this car. People might say it doesn't fit the black and white, but honestly it gives the driver more of a personalization. Here is the Red Bull coming in now. Seems like the conditions are too wet to race and qualifying on dry tires. It seems like the optimum here is still the intermediate compound, as Manel really struggles through these corners. Low grip areas really suppress everything he's practiced. If you don't practice rain, you're not going to win races. That is something that we've learned from the greatest: Ayrton Senna, Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton. The drivers which have all finished races in extraordinary circumstances. Ayrton Senna, we remember, once in front of his home crowd at Brazil, ended his race by being temporarily paralyzed in his neck due to the strain that he was experiencing. Michael Schumacher finished the race on 3 wheels, and we all remember the big iconic moments when Lewis Hamilton finished Silverstone with 4 tyres, but one of them being blown. All these 3 greats have set their records in archives, but the archives of WRS are still open. And Manel here will be the one trying to contend for the pole position. as the Renault in front of him leaves out for the outlap. Manel seems to be making a good start to his run, slightly spinning there, could have cost him a lot of time. 20 seconds into the lap now, he pushes his car over every single curb and he spins. That will lose him, or it seems like the potential pole position here. He's going to need to complete another lap or make up for what just happened on 2 occasions. I'd say he'd lost about half a second there just from spinning. The conditions don't seem to be too nice on the drivers. As we see here, some drivers are capable of even setting laps on worn tyres. These are their best laps here. And honestly, you can tell me what you like, but Manel here on a purple sector, after spinning, he is now contended by Aaron, who has just set a 148.9. Aaron is absolutely shredding every single one of these drivers, but can Manel compete? He is now coming over to the close of this lap. He spins once again, but he pushes the black Mercedes over the line. He knows what's on the line right now. He is separated further from the pole position by not only Kieran but Darth FIFA as well. He now comes over the line and stays in 6th. Spinning clearly didn't help him there, but Aaron just made himself a name in this Hanoiiii Grand Prix. All drivers here would have preferred a race around Monza. Yeah, we've got Aaron here with his Irish boy helmet. Proud of where he's from. You can't blame him. You don't see many Irish drivers in Formula 1 now, or league racing at all. Aaron is really making a legacy for himself thanks to that. The Red Bull here, however, has just set a lap that put him in P2. He has set the purple 3rd sector, meaning that the lap is so shared. All drivers have shared a sector best time. There's not a single driver, even Aaron, setting 148.9. There's not a single driver that could gain all 3 purple sectors. Going back to Yingiski, P11. The Racing Point, has ran himself on 149.3, putting him right behind his teammate Aaron. That is insane news. The Racing Point team principal must be happy. And you should be, because what we just saw here is dominance of the Racing Point cars, accused of copying the Mercedes, but we all know what happens for real. As he actually, after just finishing 1 lap, he opens himself to another lap, setting an immediate first purple sector. Rain has eased off slightly here. Can this driver push his pink car to a potential purple sector in all 3 sectors? He now goes low on fuel. 40% ERS is going to thirst him towards the end of this qualifying lap, but that does also come with the positive of having a lighter car. He now comes over 2nd sector. Does he set a purple? Yes, he does. 2 purple sectors. He is on a great run to set the pole position, but he hits the wall there. Will that be enough to prevent him from taking the pole position from his teammate? 3 minutes to go. Let's buckle up and just wait here. He now finishes that part of the... well, Well, the Red Bull takes the pole position away from Aaron, while his teammate fails what he has just started. Going into P4, that's what he will have to deal with. Aaron now goes for the second lap, trying to retake the pole position that he's just shown as his. 148.9 is the time to beat. We thought that Aaron's time was insane, but just look at this tiny difference between the top three. Let's ask Siri for the difference between all these three drivers. 992 minus 928.
That would be 64.
You've heard it yourself, ladies and gentlemen. There is a difference of 64 hundredths between these top three drivers. With 1 minute 30 seconds to go, Aaron has more than enough time to set his lap, but he's treading behind the AlphaTauri. He has to let that guy go. Kingiski disqualifies himself from the session, leaving himself in P17. Drivers then are starting to retire from the session in order to save tyres, and we saw the Alfa Romeo spin there, but the driver that hasn't spun is Aaron. With 40 seconds to go, he is just eyeing up on this potential pole position. He completes his outlap, sets his engine mode to rich. You can see that the ERS is starting to flood. He is in hot lap mode. He is going for the pole position. He is currently in P3. Can he stay there, or will he fight for something even higher? The first turns, the first snail section is insanely hard by what it seems. This curb here as well, seeming like a very suicidal one, touching it just too hard means that you spin out. Qualifying has ended, meaning that Aaron here is on his last chance to get this pole position. Any invalidation will cost him the chance of a front row lockout. His teammate is also on a lap. Oh, well, it seems like an outlap, so he's not really going to be much in contention here. But Aaron continues to fight. Not a purple sector, neither one of the first two, but or first one, so he's still on his second sector. Taking that car beautifully around the hairpin, knowing exactly when to brake is something that this driver does very well. You know, enters sector 3. Sector 2 has not been a purple sector, but it is just that slight bit up on his previous lap. Will that be enough to give him P2 or even P3? No, it won't. Aaron retires from the session after a devastating crash. This is the moment where Jeff asks you, are you okay? Devastating views that we see here. Qualifying has ended with one of the favourites for pole position crashing out. Kimi here in the Ferrari P11, still finishing his lap off, as it seems. Or has he? He has already finished his lap. So we are waiting for the teammate of Aaron. Will he contest for something more than his teammate has? Going around the hairpin that we just called Aaron out on, and almost in the same place as Aaron, he almost comes to a spin. Commentator's curse coming to his finest. Purple sector set in sector 2. Beautifully running this car around, but hopefully the commentator's curse doesn't live up to the Racing Points again, because this team is capable of locking out this grid as a 1-2 today. They haven't done so, but we saw the potential. The race is going to be one of theirs, but he now comes over to finish this qualifying lap. Will he go into a high position? We will find out very soon. 5th for the Racing Point. Nothing of improvement. So, Racing Points, after what seemed to be such a good beginning of the qualifying laps, have ended their chances of dominating from the very beginning of this race. But the race is not over until the checkered flag is waved. We still have ages to go. I hope you stay with us now. 4 viewers, well, not a record number, but always someone nice to know that you're here. Let us know by saying something in the little comment box. Aaron fans in the chat. Aaron, if you're watching, you know you've got a chance here. Dry conditions in the race. Thanks to this, all drivers will be starting on a fresh compound tyre, as the Parc Fermé rule does not apply regarding tyres due to the weather. Here they go. The Red Bull leading the pack through the formation lap. Hanoiiii is a track that I've never really ridden on properly, neither have I commentated here. I am full and open to whatever happens, or can happen, I should say. Will McLarens get any higher than where they have started? We see the Racing Point potential, but 2 disqualified drivers now from the formation lap due to contact. As what is the Red Bull doing? Overtaking several cars. I mean, is he higher? Mr. Red Bull, the race has not begun. No one needs to overtake, but Kimi is another driver who overtakes, so is the Renault, so is the Alfa Romeo. He has lost a few positions in the beginning, that's what it seems, but I mean, come on man. Warm your tyres up slowly. Why waste them on the formation lap? You're gonna get the position back anyway. Drop your predictions for this race. This is your predicted pit stop strategy. 2 stops, so what it seems like these drivers are going to have to really stretch tyres here. 28 laps of this track, but it seems to be very demanding, and we just saw a couple of the front runners finish their formation laps. Not good for them, as everyone else is so far behind. They will now have cold tyres. several disqualifications. I really can't tell they're disqualified from just the formation lap or from the entire race in general. Hopefully just a formation lap. They've lined up, warm track already. We are about to begin this race. 3, 4 and 5 lights. The crowd goes silent as we now go, and we are underway with an instant gap between the drivers. Several positions gained by the racing points. The Red Bull has to pull to the side, meaning that he lost 4 positions on the very beginning. Given the race lead to the AlphaTauri, kind of seems as if there's something wrong with the telemetry here, showing us that the Renault is first, where clearly he's not. But that is not the peak of concern here. That is something that can be fixed. The racing point of Aaron, or the other racing point, seems to be under attack from McLaren. But is it enough to make an overtake? No, it isn't. The racing point is closer to the Red Bull than the McLaren to the racing point. Fight for the race podium here. We see a few overtakes performed by Manel in the Mercedes, with the Red Bull of Silent Game and now trading behind him. Not good, not the start that you'd expect. Kimi staying in his place, being a Kimi, but he is now being attacked by the Renault, forcing his way around the outside. Can he make it stick? They bump tires, and he tries trading. He doesn't go over the track. As we now see the Alfa Romeo pushing the Haas out. 3 wides here through the corners and through the entrance to the first chicanes. As we now see the Renault trying to eye up back on the Ferrari, regain some positions. We see a few moves here, people already diving into the pits. And there's another incident here, the McLaren hitting the Haas, which has spun into him. Not the ideal situation for any of these drivers. Lap 3 now commences, and we have a yellow flag in sector 1. Many overtakes being performed here, as we see drivers here fighting. Of the pack is still not too separated. It is the first lap after all, or first 2 laps. There is something wrong with this game, showing me that it is lap 2. A moment ago it was showing it was lap 3, but never mind. We saw Kimi here now in P7 regaining some positions after his teammate goes over and cuts the corner. He now tries to eye up on the Mercedes with the slipstream. The DRS not enabled as it is only lap 2. Please stop showing us a predicted pit strategy. Let us see Kimi overtake the Mercedes. Can he do it into the entrance of this corner? Going around. He cannot. He will be treading, but there is another chance at another straight. He now eyes up. Very close here. Will he make the dive? It seems as if he was close enough to do so, but he did not. Sector 3 now is the one owning a red flag, or yellow, sorry. And we have a virtual safety car after the first retirement of the session. Unfortunate for the second Ferrari, while his teammate is up in P8. Or P7 as it seems. Drivers will now be pitting. The Red Bull has regained the lead in this race thanks to, I believe it may be an overtake that we have missed. Well, what a beginning to this race we have just seen. Wow. Has the virtual safety car been off? Yes, it is. We go green in Hanoi. The AlphaTauri making up on this slow reaction time of not only me but the Red Bull as well in front of him. He is now using everything he can, slipstream and everything. Manuel gets a 3-second time penalty while the AlphaTauri tries to close up on the Red Bull. Can he do so successfully? He is doing so successfully, but is it enough to overtake? Does he do so? He tried to go around the outside, he now goes for the undercut as the Red Bull locks up. Long straight drag race here, who has the better straight line setup? In straight line car, seems like the Red Bull will go victorious in this current battle. Sector 2 has a yellow flag. Kingiski retires. Will that lead to another safety car or not? We do not know. But for now, all eyes are on the front runners. The AlphaTauri, after just moments ago attacking the Red Bull, he is now under attack from the McLaren, who uses DRS and takes advantage of the mistake that the AlphaTauri has made to close up. But we have a safety car. No overtaking on this lap. The drivers may begin to try and consider pitting here if they want to show the strategy. That is what we see Jacob here doing. Kareem leaving as well. Aaron pitting. 60 kilometers an hour is the pit lane time, or pit lane speed that you can be driving around this track. One of the faster pit lanes in the entirety of Formula 1. We've seen members of the pit crew break their legs in Bahrain when Kimi didn't care, casually just drove in to the pits. We've also seen fires in the pit lane, tyres being blown off in the house garage. But what we haven't seen is any of this in this game or in the WRS league. The drivers will now line up behind the safety car. It's worth noting what tyres these drivers are on. The front runners decided to go on softs, the current top 4 or 5. Seems like everybody did softs and mediums. No one is trying to do anything too different. The leaders all pit now. This is what I was talking about. This is the moment where we may see pit lane battles. Which pit crew suppresses the fastest pit time? The Red Bull now loses positions, but that is because other drivers have pit. The Racing Point goes into first as the Red Bull regains its position, and everybody leaves with the almost exact same gap to what they enter the pits in. The Red Bull is now second, losing a single position to the Racing Points. A fast runner, but probably not a contester for today's race, as we've seen he make several mistakes in the qualifying session. But he is the first one to lead the pack into the safety car. Hopefully no one hits the safety car, because it is just a running block on this game. You hit it, your tyre dies, and so do you. So the front runners are now all on the exact same tyres. The Racing Point will have slightly worn tyres, but they are not worn enough to give him any sort of disadvantage to the drivers behind him. But we see everyone lining up. The AlphaTauri now in fourth. Manuel, he's been given a drive-through penalty. He's been given several penalties. Sometimes the game really hits you hard. I remember it during my time in the Auto Racing Connected League, which I am still a part of. There were 2 races back to back where the game decided to give me a drive-through penalty for driving within the delta speed. Is that the case with Manel here today? If it is, it will cost him a lot of points for the team, and for himself for that matter. Out of all the people that are here, Kimi is the one using his AI to drive for him. I mean, if your name is Kimi, you gotta be like the one and only Iceman. I say one and only, but you can replicate him. If this Kimi here can do so, then anyone can do so. The Haas really greedy for this P2, presumable P1 after pit stops. It's worth noting that the drivers here which have pitted are at a slight advantage, but they will still need to pit once again. Everybody here seems like they will be running a 2-stop unless we have another safety car. Manel gets another 5-second time penalty after a collision apparently with the driver in front of him, and he collides again as he lost part of his front wing. I believe not, possibly the end plates, but no, the end plates on. Cars swirling from side to side. Let's take a look at what positions have been gained. Just look at the Haas here. 15 positions gained within the first 2 laps, as we see. Yes, this is the Wildwood Alfa Romeo hitting the wall, and he is hit from behind. So yes, that was your daily episode of National Geographic with Alfa Romeo Racing. Cost himself the race there, and cost the drivers a longer safety car period. Now 6 laps for the Racing Points. He will be slightly struggling, as now with the longer the safety car lasts here, the longer he will need to stay out on his tyre, as the safety car is in and he spins almost immediately. But it seems like we're going to be underway here now. The Racing Point controls the speed of the track now. Green flags, and the Red Bull is still too far away to overtake, but here is the AlphaTauri trying to make it up on the Haas. Not able to do so, but there is still a fight for second and first. Actually, the Red Bull clearly showing that he is the faster driver. He is catching up immediately from being 0.7 seconds behind. He has made a gap to 0.2, now 0.3. A serious lock up for the Racing Point means that the Red Bull will be very close on the next straight. I believe WRS will be enabled, and now is the moment to attack if you are Tears. And he does so on a closed flap. He makes it all the way around the outside, which now turns into the inside. You now have the clear line into the next corner, and we see the next level Danny Rick coming out and immediately making up his position back. I called him a Danny Rick because, as we all know, Danny Rick hit Kvyat after going wide at Baku last year. Nice overtake around the AlphaTauri there, but he still has the silent gamer Red Bull in front of him. Seems as if this Racing Point needed a pit stop after hitting the wall. Tears hits the fastest lap now with a 140.3. Jacob Bottas from the session. Guess what? Virtual safety car. Seems like most of this race might be driven on the virtual safety car, and it seems like the safety car might be the car which has most laps led now. Oh, Manuel coming in close to the barriers here. And Thorley now emerges in 11th in front of the Mercedes, but this virtual safety car is going to help him make up all the time. It's been a wicked race so far. Will it continue to be so? Something we're going to find out soon. We now go green, it seems, very suddenly. And immediately, Tears pulls off in the Red Bull. 2.2 second gap made immediately. He is clearly trying to set a fast lap, pulling his car through every corner. Enough downforce to take a car like this upside down in the tunnel. Then there is definitely enough to bring this car throughout corners like these. Behind, Darth FIFA is now attacking the Haas in second. WRS is re-enabled. And will he be close enough to attack the Haas? No, P2 is for now secure. But the Haas does make a slight mistake which costs him that slight gap. Another lockup means that the McLaren is making up even more time. Long straight, DRS enabled, rich mix. This is the time to overtake if you're the McLaren. So much lockups around this track. And what have I seen there? Is that another car going backwards? I believe not, but there is the Red Bull being overtaken by the AlphaTauri. Pretty nice overtake around here if you ask me. We now go back to the fight between P2 and P3, as there is the Haas losing not one but two positions to both the McLaren and the AlphaTauri. Big goof on this driver, but he's now the one with potential DRS. He is on the softer tyre compound to the driver in third. You'd think that helps him, but he's clearly trailing too far away. He now makes up 14 positions, not 15. And we have another retirement. Of this race, another virtual safety car. Yes, this is Hanoi, and this is the, what you could say, the Asian version of Monaco, because there's, well, before I continue saying what I just started saying, Manuel received another drive-through penalty. He is close to disqualification after the game is clearly trying to screw him over. DRS re-enabled. And now it's the AlphaTauri which is going to be the one trying to defend from the McLaren behind him. The Haas is way out of reach for either of these drivers now. All for the good of the Red Bull, which is managing to pull away thanks to this. Manuel has been disqualified from the session. Not what you want to see from such a high tier driver. Manuel had been fighting for big time wins last year, very iconically around tracks like France, where he won after a great battle with Aaron and other drivers. But now the game's screwed him over. If you've been in a position like this, you know how painful it is, because sometimes it can be funny, but not when you're league racing in a 50% league race. and it is all at the cost of good points. Only 10 drivers are remaining right now. Nothing near to what we began the race with. Ten drivers left, meaning that anyone who finishes this race is now guaranteed points. When you take a look at the racing was the team which I was betting to be the team that comes to this VTEC version of the Temple of Speed and tries to win the race. I thought that would have happened, but unfortunately it didn't. Nowhere near are these drivers right now. 5th for Aaron and 9th for Thorley. Several positions gained here for some of the drivers thanks to pit stops. But would you look at that, the Red Bull has now got his gap reduced to 1.2 seconds. It is now beyond a second. On only lap 12, the Red Bull is now risking his time on the current winner's position. If you're on the chat or if you're not, I'd advise you to be active on the World Realistic Series banter chat that we have, if you're in it, because we just witnessed Manel raging, and it is understandable. Like, something like this is something that you really don't want to see, especially in such a high tier league. But we are about to witness a battle for the lead of the race. Ryan Boy is now really closing within every single lap. He is getting so close to the driver ahead of him. Let's see his telemetry, so we understand what is he using to get past or get close to tiers. He is now within DRS range, within slipstream range, and he uses all his DRS to make the overtake on the long straight in the AlphaTauri. He makes the job look easy. Now the question is, can he pull away from the Red Bull driver, or will the Red Bull driver be swallowed by the driver behind of him, which is in the McLaren, Darth FIFA? Serious contender for some serious points, but not exactly for wins. He is willing to change that here today. But now the Red Bull is making a switchback on the AlphaTauri, going all the way around the outside. Now he's got the inside into the next corner, pushing the AlphaTauri out, braking really late. The AlphaTauri tries to get a switchback there, doesn't do so successfully at the beginning, but he does so just slightly later. He swerves from side to side. Problems with wheel controllers. Very big lockup for the Red Bull here. Now FIFA is closing as fast as Ryan has been doing so over the previous laps. Ryan is in the worst situation considering WRS, but he is now using everything he's got to overtake the Red Bull once again, but he doesn't do so successfully. He's missing that little bit, but the Red Bull makes a mistake once again on the start-finish straight, using DRS overtake and Rich Meeks to get over the Red Bull. But he is now going to have to defend, and he hits the Red Bull in front of him. meaning that the McLaren tries to go all the way around side. He's also one of the drivers which has the WRS. Onto the next long straight. What are we about to witness? Two potential big overtakes. What is the AlphaTauri doing? Stewards, take a look at that, because that is worth noting for penalty points. But the McLaren takes matters into his own hands and overtakes anyway. We remember that swimming from side to side is illegal. It's something that we saw around Spain, and it was immediately being punished. Once you move from one side of the field to the other, you may not return. Thorley receives a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. The McLaren, after being P3 just a moment ago, is attempting to overtake Tias, who has regained the lead of this race on a better tyre compound. We will now see is Darth FIFA. He's on the hard compound tyres, but they are worn by 9 laps. That does not go anywhere near 20% wear. Whereas the Red Bull have much higher wear, and that clearly shows as he loses a position to not only the McLaren but potentially the AlphaTauri now too. Yes, he does. He spins. The Red Bull Formula Race leader has hit the wall, lost his wing, and suicided his car. Wow. Aaron makes it into P2 and Darth FIFA is leading, making up 4 positions. That is insane for this driver, but not so insane for the others. Virtual safety car. Lap 15, potential pit window for some of these drivers. 8-second gap, mind you, between P2 and the cars behind. We go green again in Hanoi, where the 1-second gap is Darth FIFA to Ryan here. But gaps are one thing, speed is another. Aaron has already made up 1 second here, thanks to this virtual safety car period. And Ryan pits. Darth FIFA remains out. Moments for Aaron to step up now. He knows it because he's in overtake. Kimi in P3. Huge gains for this driver. Thorley in 5th as well. Currently on the position that he has started on, but it's always better than losing positions. A fight for the bottom podium step here now. The McLaren makes a mistake here. Low grip areas on the exits of these corners, clearly. Will these low grip areas really hit the drivers harder than they already have? Kimi, thanks to pit stops, is now in P5 over the P3 that he has just been on. Thorle is now in P3. Aaron in P2, doing his hammer time thing, or Aaron time as we should call it now. He knows as much on the line. He has just used 40% of his DRS on a straight just to extend the gap behind and close the gap in front of him. 10 seconds separates him from Darth FIFA, while he separates himself from Magic Alonso by 7. One way or another, he's going to lose out in the pits, and so will Darth FIFA. They are two drivers which are going to have to pit. Darth FIFA though doesn't pit earlier. Pits onto medium tyres again. Oh, he is on hards, sorry. But pits onto hards. He is looking towards driving on softs at the end of the race. But 9 drivers now left remaining in this race. Aaron gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Very costly for this driver. Not exactly what you want to do. At a point in time like this, he loses a position to his teammate, who will presumably pit a lap later. Ryan says the fastest lap of the race with 138.9, faster by 2 seconds from the driver which was fastest last lap. But he is now closer to the Red Bull than he has been before. Overtake has been enabled for that very slight moment, but DRS is now the one that will play a big factor. And overtaking Ryan in the AlphaTauri has to lift off very slightly, but he goes on the long straight. A very easy overtaking zone for many of these drivers. Lap 18 of 28 with 10 laps to go. Aaron reclaims P3. And what will be P2 while his teammate pits. He goes fastest in second sector, potentially being a contender for the fastest lap overall. On this soft compound tyre, he is definitely someone that can fight here. Really ripping this track apart at this point. We see more debris being lost there on the start-finish straight, but the low grip areas, as I've mentioned before, haven't played such a big role over the past laps. We've seen most of the drivers that have crashed out here have crashed out due to the low grip areas and not being able to keep the car on the track. Aaron now goes purple in sector 3. If not the pit exits, he probably would have been yeah. But 9 contestants left in this race, and McLaren 2 racing points and an AlphaTauri separate them from the second racing point. And other McLaren, Kimi, a Haas, Renault, and other AlphaTauri. But here we now see an interesting battle eyeing up between Thorle, Alonso, and Kimi. Overtake just briefly enabled by Azul. He clearly loses out to the drivers ahead of him. Sorry, Thorley wasn't part of this. It was Alonso, Kimi and Azul. But just as predicted, Aaron says the fastest lap by over a few seconds. Would you look at that, the previous fastest lap was a 140 and this is a 137.8. A really great driving from the Irishman here. But the last of the drivers that are still eyeing up on each other. Slight motivation is present when you see a car ahead of you. You know that you're not alone on the track. You know that there is something to play for. Of course here you know that it is all for the last of running positions, but showing resilience to fight and being a fighter in general gives you a chance of being drafted into a better team in the following season. But here is the Ferrari of Kimi trying to overtake the McLaren once again as he locks up a serious amount of lock-stop and everything in low grip areas. They really play their own factor in this race. It's totally different to what you'd experience in rain at any other given track, Monaco even. You could be driving around Monaco in harsh rain with no lights on, but that would never be anything near what you would be experiencing here at this track in the wet. But Thorley regains the fastest lap with a 137. Some of these drivers are dominating this class here. The racing points, of course. Really close, makes up a big move on the mistake of the McLaren there. That was so randomly executed, totally not expected. Take a moment to look back at the overtake, because you would not have seen another one like that anywhere. But now the McLaren is trying to regain the position, something that will seem to be a very hard job here. Darth FIFA pits and loses the position to Aaron. Or does he? Four seconds now separates the drivers in first and second, thanks to pit stops. 9 drivers still running, but a big fight coming. That was not supposed to rhyme, but it did. What doesn't rhyme is Darth Thief and AMC F33, because only one of these drivers can get P1 in this race. Which one of them will it be? The McLaren or the Racing Point? Just look at the reps on this car, 10k rotations per minute on a wheel like this. You would not want to be an F1 wheel, and I'm telling you that. People say that they want to be engines, people say they want to be tyres when they grow up, but you don't want to be either. I'm joking if you haven't realised. But there is another fight between a McLaren and a Ferrari. Same drivers as before now. trying to retake the position is Alonso. Clear track behind him, but not ahead. Kimi and Alonso don't rhyme either. Only one of these drivers can take P5 or higher, and they both know that. A serious lockup really risked Kimi getting hit there. Luckily enough, he was too far away to do so. WRS enabled, really making up all this time now on the starting straight. As it turns into turn 1, serious lockup. Like the amount of lockups into this corner are insane. Dodges the high curb, but he is still within reach of WRS. Now, vamos, 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 Alonso. Because this is the time that you need to push in order to regain the position that was yours. The Ferrari still being in a fairly comfortable situation, you must admit. 0.5 seconds separates him from Alonso behind. Darth FIFA now sets at 136.3. I've just sat up and got eyes on my chair because I was not expecting that to happen. Thorley now fights with Ryan 4P3. This is a podium fight while FIFA sets fastest laps. Wow, not something you'd expect from the average league here. But this league is clearly not average, as is shown right now. The Racing Pro tries to go up on the inside, but he is not close enough. He has to let go for the AlphaTauri to pass. With 4 laps left, he now overtakes on the long straight. And it is the Racing Point that is now in P3. P2 and P3, a podium lockout for both the Racing Points. Insane performance by these drivers, you have to admit. Not something you'd be worried about, but you would be expecting this after their insane performance in qualifying. The one thing that could either ruin or help their case right now is a safety car. We have had 8 drivers DNF in this race so far. One of them got disqualified. There is a big fan for Avesta in the chat right now. It is the Renner who is running a solo race. Debris still scattered around the track. Kimi v Alonso continues, but it is not seeming like a knot will be tied to this battle yet. DRS is still something that either drivers uses on an average of 3 times over the lap. But would you look at that, Darth FIFA setting the fastest lap just a few laps ago. He has set a 136.3, stolen the fastest lap from Aaron, who has set a 137.8. Avesta, I really can't tell who this is in the comments trying to support you so much, but you are lucky to have a supporter like that, so make use of this. Slava Ukraina. P8 is not a position that you'd be willing to be finishing on. Of course, this might not be the best of the races for the driver, but with 3 laps to go, there is not exactly too much hope apart from safety cars. We speak about hopelessness, but there is the AlphaTauri being now without reach even to the car in front. The drivers which are within reach of each other are currently only Kimi and Alonso. But as I've said, it seems like this cannot be tied until the very last lap. That is only the moment when we will be certain as to who finishes in P5 and who finishes P6. It seems as if the Racing Points have managed to lock out the bottom 2 positions of the podium. This will give them an over 30-point gain, which means that they are presumably going to be now in P2 even possibly. If Darth FIFA and his McLaren team crash out now, there is a potential for Racing Points being the leaders of the classification in the World Realistic Series. We now enter the penultimate lap. Lap 27 of 28 begins. And this is the moment where you either push or you sit back. What will the drivers in this fight do? Alonso has to push now. But is he close enough? Definitely not, but he does a big late braking, which does bring him much closer to the Ferrari ahead of him. Kimi is in trouble. Is he within DRS range? Yes, he is. 0.5 seconds separates him from Kimi. If he manages to hold on to the gap he currently owns and even take it down, Alonso could be well finishing in P5. Alonso is on 8-lap worn soft tyres, which as just seen right now are losing grip, while Kimi is on 10-lap worn medium tyres, which are still well within the optimum. These tyres can go up to 20 laps sometimes, so 10 laps is definitely clear of the danger zone. Darth FIFA is about to begin the last lap of this race, and he will be the one which seems to bring the win home this race. But anything can happen. He is on slightly less worn tyres, so he is in the more safe zone than Aaron. Aaron has 8-lap worn soft tyres. They will be potentially in the danger zone if he pushes too hard on this lap, but there is no need. With a 12-second gap to first, there is just no point of pushing. Just bring it home. For one of Estefan in the comment section, here he is in his Renault. Far from where he wishes to be, but a pointed position is a pointed position. You have to respect that, because as we've just seen, we started with 18 drivers, we ended with 9. All those that got disqualified DNF clearly did so because of a reasoning. Hanoiiii is definitely not one of the easier circuits then. And as we've just said, with the tyre situation, Kimi now leads away from Alonso. But there you go, Darth FIFA now is about to go over the line, and he finishes the race in P1 with a 15-second gap to Aaron behind him. perfect execution of strategy brings this driver into P1. Aaron gets a 5-second penalty due to what seems like an unserved penalty, which must have been a drive-through. So both racing points have finished across the line. So does Aaron right now, followed by Kimi, Alonso, Vias, Ave, also about to cross the line after he survives this last bit. Still could potentially make up on the Haas in front of him, but that would cost a serious mistake by the Haas. And that is your race done. Alex comes back in 9th. What he needs to remember, and what the bottom runners need to remember, as he really does something dangerous at the back of the starting straight. What drivers like these need to remember is that this was a tough race. This was a race where you had to qualify on a wet tyre and on a wet setup. You're driving on a totally different track with a totally different setup. This was one hell of a battle, not between just drivers, but between literally the car and the drivers themselves. So that is your podium for today's race. I will now post a short break, after which I will be back for interviews. Alright, lads. We can begin with Thorley and give us your views on the race. As I said, or as others said, P3 on your debut race in this league. What was it like?
Yeah, it was quite fun actually. Qualified P4, which I could have done better, but it is what it is. I was leading the safety car, obviously, and then I spun and smashed my wing. But thanks to Aaron here, he hooked me up with a good strategy, and we brought it home.
How would you describe your views for the race, or for the league in general? Because of course, if you're hitting a P3 in your first race, do you think it's something too easy for you, or will you continue to be a driver here?
I reckon, yeah, I enjoyed racing this league. There are a lot of familiar names. I've raced with probably 90% of the group before, so yeah. It's if the leaders let me keep my seat, I'm definitely gonna race here more.
That is good news for the World Realistic Series. Then we might have a new championship leader crowned here within a few races.
Yeah,
Thorley,
hopefully.
give us your views on the strategy though. You've had a very up and down race because of that, of course, because as you've mentioned, you've had a crash which led you to another pit stop, but you have finished on pretty good looking tyres by the end. How would you describe that?
Yeah, me and my teammate chose to start on the mediums on the start because obviously we had wet qualifying. And then I did another set of mediums after, crashing, and I was really dependent on not crashing or not having a safety car around lap 15. And so I went in on lap 19, I think it was, and pitted on soft, which, to be honest, I said to my teammate in the party, this is not going to work, they're going to blow up. But they came in clutch, and yeah, really happy with the strategy.
And one last question, how would you describe the setup problem here? Because of course you've had a wet qualifying session but a dry race. What was your way to work around it? Did you try and go for a dry setup throughout, or were qualifying positions your priority?
Qualifying position was not really my priority here. I feel pretty confident on this track, pretty good in rain here, so I chose the dry setup because I was not gonna sacrifice my first race for a qualifying position. So yeah, that was 3 A-wings throughout the race.
Something worth noting for the other drivers if we're going to be going back to Hanoiiii in the future, I guess. But yeah, thanks, that's it for you.
Yeah,
congrats on the podium.
thank you very much.
Aaron, now, is your microphone on?
Yeah.
Right, give us your thoughts on the race.
I think I did a 1, 2, 3 stop, which is not ideal, as you would think. But I had a crash at the start with Manel. I don't know what happened. I think it was a racing incident. It wasn't good either, so yeah.
Manel got punished in the end for that, and he got disqualified by the end of the race. Would you believe that is the problem of the game, or were there events where you think some drivers definitely deserve being disqualified? Because remember Manel in Canada last year, he was disqualified as well due to increased amount of penalties. What would you say to that?
He got disqualified for no reason. I was in the party and he just got disqualified out of nowhere.
Okay, and of course you finished in P2. You were at one point considering to be a contender for the win in this race. How would you describe your attitudes coming out of this race? Are you happy with the P2, or do you believe you could have fought for more?
Racing point 2nd and 3rd. I think that's pretty good. So that's it.
Chances are you will be the new constructing leaders. Thank you and congrats on the P2.
Cheers.
Now moving on to Darth Thief. I believe he is the last of drivers that we're going to be interviewing here today. Are you here?
Yes, I am.
Right, what is your view on the race?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a survivor this one. So,
Thomas.
yeah. What? So, yeah, it's a bit of a survivor race this one. Yeah, I had to pace on hard tires as well, but of course many people crashed, and also Merain I mean, he had a very good pace. I don't know what really happened this race, so yeah, I was P4 after turn 1, and from then on I just took the win, so yeah, nothing more special about it.
And what would you say about Hanoiiii as a track in general? Because we've seen so many retirements here today, 9 retirements and 1 disqualification. Do you think it's the track that's hard here, or do you think it's just a lack of preparation that led to drivers finishing like this?
It's just about like having a mind, you know. You have to think to drive clean here. If you want to battle, you really have to give each other space, which I didn't saw with all the drivers today, especially what I saw with Merain. He was just squeezing the wall multiple times. I mean, you really have to leave space on this track, but I really enjoy it, especially the backstreet. It's like very narrow, and I like narrow circuits, so yeah. Really happy with this.
So it seems like you're going to be a good contender around other circuits like Monaco in the future if we decide to drive there. Hopefully it goes well there as well. So congrats on the win.
Oh yeah, thank you.
And good luck in the future. That's it for the World Realistic Series round 4 around Hanoiiii for the Season 2 race. Big changes in the standings after what happened here today. There will be definitely more action to come in the future races. That is it for today. My name is Oliver. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time.